بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Season 4 of Once Upon a Crescent, a Muslim kids podcast. Dear kid listeners, these stories are just for you. Written and produced by me, your author and narrator, Mrs. Hashmi. Let's switch on our imaginations with today's story.
BearJaan's Promise.
This story is brought to you by an organization that has been helping those in need since 1984, Islamic Relief. Please visit them after this episode at irusa.org. BearJaan sleepily looked around the den that he was hibernating in. BearJaan squinted at the sunshine peeking through the den. It was the first day of spring, and BearJaan's natural instincts were to awaken from hibernation now. This bear hadn't eaten in months, so BearJaan set out in search of some food. He was greeted with a comforting warmth outside the den. It was springtime, which meant the flowers were blooming and there was a happy chirp in the air. There were tons of animals out and about today, BearJaan noticed. Squirrels were scurrying around gathering food for their young ones. A very frantic squirrel named Suffy was carrying a pile of nuts and berries in his little arms. The food was stacked up so high that this little squirrel couldn't even see what was in front of him. Suffy the squirrel rammed right onto BearJaan's paw. All the berries and nuts went flying in the air. Suffy the squirrel watched as his pile scattered all around the ground.
Oh no! Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. What a tragedy this is for me. I spent days gathering all of that. And how frustrating. There's a berry here and there and all the way over there. It will take me forever to gather all of these. Oh, and some nuts way over there and some seeds off in that corner. I just can't think right now. I need a minute to gather myself.
BearJaan looked down to Suffy the squirrel, who was squealing and trembling with worry.
Oh, no. Okay, Bismillah, I can do this.
While Suffy the squirrel worked on clearing his head, BearJaan extended his paw and so easily swept and scooped up the mess that Suffy was frustrated to see. For BearJaan and his enormous paw, it only took about 5 seconds to collect the berries, nuts, and seeds. Just as Suffy the squirrel was about to work on gathering his mess, he noticed a large paw near the now neatly stacked food. Suffy rose his head all the way up to peer up at BearJaan.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, BearJaan, for gathering my food for me. I didn't realize you were up from hibernation now. How are you?
BearJaan's tummy rumbled. BearJaan hadn't eaten in months, and here he was, in front of an entire stack of food right at his paw tips.
Walaikum assalam. I'm starving. I was just about to go and search for some food.
Oh, BearJaan, I promise I would have offered you some of this food from this pile, but it's actually not mine. This is an amana given to me, and I have to deliver it to its rightful owner.
BearJaan was incredibly hungry at this moment, but he still took out the time to ask.
It's a what?
An amana. You know, like someone trusted me with their stuff, so I have to fulfill my part and not break their trust. It's an amana, a responsibility, you could say.
Suffy the squirrel had gathered all his berries, seeds, and nuts from under BearJaan's paw and headed towards a distant tree. BearJawn was impressed with Suffy the squirrel. He took his responsibility seriously, it seemed.
Wow, that's a pretty trustworthy animal,
BearJawn thought. BearJawn continued his hunt for his own food. Oh, BearJawn felt an ooze of smushy liquid from underneath him. He shook off his paw only to find a sticky paste of blueberries that he just smushed. His large bear paw trampled on a low blueberry bush, creating a puddle of squishy blueberries. A swarm of little chipmunks came rushing at the sound. They angrily shook their heads at BearJawn. The chipmunks paced back and forth, trying not to freak out over the ruined blueberries.
BearJawn, how could you have wasted all this food by stomping on it like that? We were going to use those blueberries to make a special treat for our mom. We promised her a surprise today.
This made BearJawn feel smaller than an itty-bitty ant. It never feels good when others get mad at you for just being you. And BearJawn knows this well.
Well, actually, I didn't see those down there. I didn't mean to waste any food. Can you make a surprise treat for your mom that doesn't involve adding blueberries?
BearJawn studied the faces of the chipmunks as they stared at the mess on the ground. One of the chipmunks leaped as an idea struck her. She gathered herself and apologized for the outburst.
I'm sorry I snapped, BearJawn. That was not right. It's not like you smushed the blueberries on purpose. And you know what? You're right. We can make something else. BearJawn, we're going to need your help. You stay here and guard these mashed blueberries. We can still use the top half of this. We'll leave the rest of our ingredients with you and be right back. Promise you'll keep our stuff safe, BearJawn?
BearJawn nodded quickly, feeling the pressure as all the chipmunks stared at him. This little chipmunk turned to her siblings and huddled around them, squeaking excitedly about her new plan. BearJawn had absolutely no clue what the chipmunks were planning next. All he knew was that he needed to eat something quick and fast. He eyed the smashed blueberries on the ground and felt disappointed that the chipmunks still wanted to use them.
I would have gladly ate the entire thing off the ground. I am so hungry.
The chipmunks all turned to BearJawn at once, and they opened up their mouths. Suddenly, a pile of nuts, seeds, and other berries that were stored in the chipmunks' cheeks came rolling out with great speed and force. It all landed one on top of the other, resulting in a neat pile of appealing foods to BearJawn. I mean, did BearJawn mind that these foods were inside of a chipmunk's mouth? No way! He hadn't eaten in months. He would gladly take anything right now. Before BearJawn could even get the chance to ask if it was okay for him to eat some of this, the chipmunks quickly ran off to continue their plans to make a yummy surprise treat for their mom. One little chipmunk returned to say,
"Can you keep our food safe? You promise? Promise us, BearJawn."
BearJawn nodded in slow motion to make sure that the little chipmunk understood that he was taking on a promise. He smiled as the little one scurried away behind her siblings. BearJawn plopped down on his big furry behind and sat in front of the pile of food with his paws under his chin, simply staring at the yummy food and counting each berry, each nut, each seed, one by one, in hopes of passing the time by. So there BearJawn was, left completely alone with no one around him. Just him and this pile of food he's supposed to guard and not eat.
Oh, What kind of responsibility is this for a bear who just came out of hibernation? How do they even expect me not to nibble at this? I'm a bear who just came out of hibernation. The chipmunks should be here by now. What if the food attracts flies? What if this food rots? What if no one gets to eat it? Then that surely would be a true waste of food. It's been 12,348 seconds already since they left me in charge here.
BearJaan scooted closer to this food pile. He inched even closer and closer, and he took a big sniff. "What are you even doing?" a raccoon yelled, looking at this awkward large bear sniffing at a pile of berries, nuts, and seeds. It was Rahimi the raccoon. He watched as BearJaan rolled to his back and pretended to stretch out.
Oh, this. Oh, now I'm just stretching out my stiff muscles and rolling it out. I just woke up from hibernation, right? It takes a few minutes of stretching for me to feel like myself again.
Rahimi the raccoon squinted suspiciously at BearJaan. He slowly approached the chipmunk's food pile and started to rearrange the food. The neat food pile was now transformed to a beautiful flower arrangement.
Hey, I'm supposed to be guarding this. We aren't supposed to be touching or nibbling or sniffing these foods. It belongs to the chipmunks. They left it to me to keep guarded as an amana. I'm fulfilling a big responsibility here. Why'd you mess with their food?
BearJaan was shocked at how quickly Rahimi the raccoon changed the pile into a beautiful flower shape. "They asked me to come here to make this arrangement for them for their mom's surprise treat. It's not like I ate any, BearJaan. I'm just doing my part to help them. Looks like you're doing yours extra well. I'm impressed. You take this amana seriously. I'm glad they chose you to trust with their precious foods that they've been gathering." Rahimi the raccoon winked and ran off to carry on with his day. BearJaan smiled to himself. He did have an ability to keep this trusted pile of foods in perfect condition. BearJaan's tummy grumbled again, reminding him how he hadn't eaten anything since he woke up from hibernation. Just then, a teeny almond rolled off the flower arrangement structure that Rahimi the raccoon had just constructed. It fell off and rolled all the way down to BearJaan's paw, bumping it ever so slightly. BearJaan gulped. He was now reminded again that he hadn't eaten a single thing in months.
Okay, technically, I'm still entrusted with this one little tiny almond too, since it was stored in the chipmunk's cheeks and it was part of that pile. But would anyone even know around here?
BearJaan squeezed his eyes shut and made a little dua like he learned from a friend called BearJaan.
Oh my Allah, please help me in this really tough situation. I want to do the right thing because I know this is an amana. I can't break this trust. I made a promise, but I feel really helplessly hungry.
Just then, the chipmunks came rushing from behind the bushes. They jumped on top of one another in excitement and squealed. Okay, Mama is coming. BearJaan, can you hide behind that tree over there? We'll all yell, surprise, together, okay? While BearJaan dragged his feet towards the tree in the back, one of the chipmunks called out, "Oh, BearJaan, there's some extra food that we hid behind the tree, and you could totally eat those foods while you're waiting. There's plenty on the side over there." The other chipmunk pointed to the tree.
Please eat the food.
BearJaan looked to the tree that she was pointing at.
BearJaan, can you hide behind the tree?
BearJaan spotted the tree. He rushed over to it as the chipmunks hid behind bushes. BearJaan's eyes lit up. His big furry bum wiggled and waggled happily to the tree. He tried his best to contain his happiness and be secretive behind the tree, but all he could do was giggle with excitement when he spotted the extra food.
Okay, Mama coming. Everybody hide. It's time for the surprise.
A few moments later, the chipmunks leaped in the air and yelled, "Surprise!"
Surprise!
BearJaan was too busy eating his first meal in months to even bother to look up and participate in the surprise. His bum happily wiggled and waggled as he enjoyed this yummy meal. Mama Chipmunk turned the corner of the tree to find BearJaan doing a little happy dance of joy while eating his food. Mama Chipmunk gently poked BearJaan and cleared her throat. I don't mean to interrupt your moment, BearJaan, but I just wanted to say that I am so grateful for the promise that you kept to my little chipmunks. You guarding this food allowed them to give me the best surprise ever. What you did here reminds me of the ayah of the Quran where Allah says, "Whoever fulfills his promise and fears Allah, then indeed Allah loves those who are mindful of him." May Allah love you and your trustworthy character, BearJaan. Mama Chipmunk gave BearJaan a big bear hug.
BearJaan, good for keeping your promise. Thank you, BearJaan.
He smiled and continued on with his meal, wiggling and waggling his bum as he ate.
Or keep your promise.
Jazakallah khair for tuning in. I love the work Islamic Relief is doing. They help millions of people around the world and here at home in the U.S. every single year. Please go to irusa.org or check out the link in this episode's description to support Islamic Relief so you can be a part of a mission that has been helping save lives since 1984.